Ibn Arabi said, "The heart is the throne of God, and only the truth is worthy to sit upon that throne. If you let people's judgments, their mockery, and their belittling take hold of you, then you've handed that throne to someone other than Him. And in that moment, your heart becomes a silent slave. When you allow others to crush you, it's not only your body that bends, it's your soul. But remember, the truth created His servants not as the humiliated, but as the honored. Every human carries within a sacred trust. Those who let themselves be trampled have failed to protect that trust. In the Quran, Allah says in Surah An-Nisa 475, "Will you not fight in the way of Allah for those who are oppressed?" This verse is not only a call to outer battle, it's an inner awakening. A heart that cannot defend its own dignity extinguishes its own light. Because sometimes, being oppressed is not the sin of the oppressor, but the sin of the one who remains silent. According to Ibn Arabi, the greatest weakness of man is forgetting the honor bestowed upon him by God. When you forget that divine honor, the words of others begin to weigh heavier. The gaze of others becomes more powerful than the gaze of God. And while shrinking under someone's look, you fail to notice you've abandoned your essence. When does a person allow themselves to be crushed? When they see themselves as worthless. When they seek people's approval above God's approval. When they stay silent for applause. When they distance themselves from truth just to avoid conflict. At that moment, the one sitting on your heart's throne is no longer the truth. Mevlana, Rumi, said, "Those who think themselves as dust will always be stepped on. Yet even the soil with patience gives birth to flowers. Humility and humiliation are not the same. True humility is bowing before the truth. Humiliation is bowing before people. The first purifies the heart. The second darkens it. There are many who, thinking they are humble, actually erase themselves. But God creates nothing in vain. There is a light inside you, and you are responsible for protecting it. To keep that light alive, sometimes you must say stop. Sometimes you must say no. Sometimes you must refuse to stay silent." Abdul Qadir al-Gailani writes in Futu al-Gaib, "True humility is to bow for the truth, not for the crowd." This is a piercing truth, because often, in trying not to hurt others, we end up hurting ourselves, and that silent heartbreak can turn into a quiet rebellion. God hears even that rebellion. Those who let others crush them often mistake it for love. They say, "I forgive, I endure." But patience does not mean self-erasure. True patience is protecting yourself for the sake of truth. When you show mercy to others, you must also be just toward yourself. Mercy faces outward. Justice faces inward. Ibn Arabi said, "Honor, Izzah, is one of God's names. Whoever guards their own honor carries a portion of that name. So protecting your worth is not arrogance, it is divine dignity. A heart that carries that dignity shines with God's light. It neither breaks nor breaks others." Modern psychology says that the cycle of being crushed begins with learned helplessness. When a person is constantly rejected, they eventually stop fighting back. That silence you call maturity? It's not true surrender. It's quiet exhaustion. In Sufism, this is not the death of the nafs, it's the sleep of the soul. And wherever the soul sleeps, man begins to forget the divine honor placed within him. Rumi tells a story. A sparrow once hid beneath an eagle's shadow. The eagle's wings were vast, and the sparrow felt safe. But one day the eagle was struck down, and the sparrow fell with it. Rumi said, "If you wish to protect yourself, seek shelter not beneath another's wings, but in the wind of the truth. For it is not people who protect you, it is Allah who carries you." The Prophet ﷺ said, "A believer is one of dignity. He neither oppresses nor accepts oppression." Tirmidhi 133. This hadith is perfect balance. A believer neither crushes others nor allows himself to be crushed. He doesn't stay silent in the face of injustice, but he speaks with wisdom, not with anger, because even silence has its proper time. Ibn Arabi said, "The tongue of the servant is the mirror of the heart. If fear lives in your heart, your tongue falls silent. But if faith lives in your heart, your tongue speaks with justice." To resist oppression doesn't mean to shout, it means to remember the truth. God created you in dignity. Remind yourself of that trust. And never forget, you were not created to live under anyone's shadow. You are a breath of the divine light. Don't let them break you, for Allah made you not humiliated, but honored. Ibn Arabi said, "The greatest test of a servant is confusing humility with humiliation. In humility, you turn toward the truth. In humiliation, you bow before people. One purifies the heart, the other darkens it. One lifts the spirit, the other shrinks it. True humility says, 'I do not exist, so that the truth may remain.' False humility says, 'I do not exist, so that people may like me.' The first is light, the second is darkness. Rumi wrote in the Masnavi, 'Be soil, so that roses may grow in you. But do not be stone, for nothing takes root there.' Soil is humility. Stone is humiliation. Soil absorbs water and gives life. Stone repels it and brings death. Sometimes silence seems like patience, but it's only fear. Fear wears the color of patience, and many are deceived by it. But God knows the heart. Patience is resistance. Fear is the lack of surrender. The patient becomes stronger. The fearful become smaller. Abdul Qadir al-Gailani said, "Bow before God, but stand tall before men, for your honor comes from Him, not from them." There is a hidden light in these words. A person rises as much as he bows to God, and he falls as much as he bows to people. Why do some people keep getting crushed? Because deep inside, they still fear humans more than God. That fear lives like an old habit. A heart once scolded or belittled as a child grows up still living by the same patterns. Psychology calls it learned obedience. Sufism calls it the chain of the self. Ibn Arabi wrote in the Futuhat al-Makkiyah, "The ego seeks only to protect its own existence. That's why it chases the approval of people, not the honor that comes from God." So a person fears the judgment of others more than the gaze of Allah. They stop defending themselves because an inner voice whispers, "What if they stop loving me?" But Allah says, "We are closer to you than your jugular vein." Qaf 16. He alone knows your true worth. Where you show humility reflects how close you are to the truth. But where you let yourself be trampled shows how far you've drifted from Him, because the truth never clothes His servant in humiliation. In the Quran, Allah reminds, "Honor belongs to Allah, His Messenger, and the believers." Al-Munafiqun 8. This verse isn't a command, it's a reminder. Your dignity has already been granted to you, but when you forget it, others begin to take it from you. When you let a man, a woman, a friend, or society make you bow down, you're not being kind. You're denying the value God placed within you. He created you with His own breath, and in that breath, there was no you, only Him. Ibn Ata'Allah al-Iskandari said, "Do not rejoice when people praise you, nor grieve when they belittle you. They see you through their eyes, but Allah sees you through His light." This wisdom is the balance of the soul. If you look through people's eyes, you'll always see yourself as small. But if you look through the divine light, no one can make you feel small again. Many people, in the name of humility, erase themselves completely. But true humility is surrendering your being to God, not to people. Bowing before the truth elevates you. Bowing before men depletes you. The difference lies in the heart's intention. Rumi said, "A slave bows before his master out of fear. A lover bows before his beloved out of love." The bow of fear is humiliation. The bow of love is humility, and Allah honors those who bow in love. The Prophet said, "Whoever humbles himself for the sake of Allah, Allah will raise him high." Muslim 69. This hadith teaches direction. If you bow for Allah, you rise. If you bow for people, you shrink. It's the most delicate balance of the soul, to be neither arrogant nor self-deprecating, to see yourself as neither superior nor worthless. For Allah created you in balance. When that balance is broken, the soul begins to sway. At one end lies pride, at the other lies humiliation, and the truth wants to find you standing in between. Ibn Arabi said that this balance is the mirror of completeness, Kamal. The complete human neither glorifies himself nor belittles himself. He dissolves in God but exists through God. That's why he bows to no one, because he already stands within the truth and serves no master but him. Now ask yourself, where do you bow, before the truth or before people? When you stay silent, is it patience or is it fear? When you don't defend yourself, is it mercy or is it neglect? If your answers draw you closer to God, you are on the right path. If they pull you away, retrain your heart. For the heart must bow to none but the truth, and protecting the honor given by God is not surrender, it is worship. It is resistance with faith. According to Ibn Arabi, every human carries two sovereigns within, the mind and the heart. The mind draws boundaries, the heart crosses them. If you surrender too much to one, you become rigid. If you give too much to the other, you become lost. And most people are crushed in the imbalance between the two. In this modern age, the mind has become the strongest master. Psychology calls it cognitive control. We try to think our way through everything, to understand, to solve, to survive. But beyond a certain point, thoughts become chains. The mind becomes a prison, turning a person into a captive of their own inner voice. Ibn Arabi wrote in Futuhat al-Makkiyah, "The mind is a mirror reflecting the forms that come from the truth. But if that mirror is stained, it distorts what it reflects." The modern mind, he would say, is like that dirty mirror, seeing not the reality within, but the reflection of its own fears. Then we start believing in those fears, and we let ourselves be diminished. The mind whispers, "Stay safe." Psychology says, trauma happens in the past, but shapes the present. Sufism asks, if it's already over, why are you still there? God gives you the now, but you choose to live in yesterday, and thus the mind becomes a slave to the past. Rumi tells it beautifully in the Masnavi. A man once ran from his own shadow. The faster he ran, the larger the shadow grew. At last he stopped and turned toward the sun, and his shadow fell behind him. The mind is just like that. The more you run, the larger your fear grows. But when you stop, peace begins. The shadow of fear is born from your own thoughts. In psychology, there is the concept of conditional love. As children we learn, if I'm good, I'll be loved. We grow up and carry that same belief. If I'm obedient, I'll be accepted. If I sacrifice, I won't be abandoned. If I stay silent, there will be peace. But that's a false peace. Storms rage within. Only the voice is muted. Ibn Allah al-Iskandari said in Al-Hikam, "If people praise you and you rejoice, their praise destroys you. If they criticize you and you grieve, their words purify you." A slap to the mental prison of the self, because the mind always craves outer approval, but the heart seeks only the truths. Modern psychology speaks of self-esteem. Sufism speaks of purification of the self, tazkiyat al-nafs. They seem similar, but they are not. Self-esteem says, I matter. Purification says, I am within him. One protects the ego, the other dissolves it. Ibn Arabi said, whoever knows himself knows his Lord, but whoever idolizes himself is veiled from the truth. Modern psychology puts man at the center. Sufism removes man from the center. When man is at the center, he gets crushed because everyone tries to touch that center. But when God is at the center, none can harm it. One reason people are crushed is that they build their identity on the wrong foundation: their job, their relationships, their status. When those are taken away, they collapse because their walls were never their own. Only the one who leans on God remains unshaken. In psychology, there's a term, setting boundaries, to protect oneself. But when those boundaries are drawn with anger, they become walls. And when the walls grow, the heart shrinks. Sufism says, set your boundaries not with anger, but with awareness. Every boundary drawn with consciousness carries mercy, and Abdul Qadir al-Gailani said, raise your voice against the oppressor, but not in anger, for anger is from the self, but justice is from the truth. Modern psychology calls this assertiveness. Sufism calls it the etiquette of protecting your divine right. When Ibn Arabi spoke of dignity, he wasn't talking about pride, he was talking about remembrance. To remember who you truly are in a world that keeps telling you otherwise. To remember that your worth does not come from their approval, but from the breath that gave you life. So if they belittle you, stay still. If they overlook you, stay rooted. Because your silence is not weakness, it is alignment. And alignment with the truth will always outlast the noise of the world. Every soul carries a throne inside, and only one deserves to sit upon it. If you let fear, guilt, or people's opinions take that place, you will feel empty no matter how hard you try to please them. But if you place God upon that throne again, you will rise, quietly, gracefully, and with unshakable peace. So tonight, pause, close your eyes, and whisper, Ya Allah, return me to the place where I remember who I am. Because remembrance is freedom, and freedom is worship. If these words touched something in you, share it in the comments. Tell us, where did you lose your voice, and where do you want to find it again? Your story might be the mirror someone else needs tonight. And before you go, subscribe so this circle of remembrance keeps growing. Every week, we walk a little deeper into the wisdom of Ibn Arabi, the mysteries of the heart, and the light that never fades. Peace be upon you, and upon every soul that refuses to bow to anything but the truth. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.